It happened when I rushed to the operating room, seized by panic upon hearing that my husband was in critical condition. Suddenly, a nurse grabbed me. "Hide and trust me," she whispered. I obeyed and concealed myself in an adjoining room. 10 minutes later, the door opened, and what I saw froze my blood. It turns out that night it was raining, as if the sky wanted to pour out all its sorrow. The wall clock in Nia's apartment had just struck midnight. Nia, dressed in a long silk lounge robe, could not sit still. She paced the living room, checking the silent cell phone resting on the table over and over again. Her husband, Tariq, had not returned yet. It was not the first time. Of course, the massive construction project Tariq was managing often required him to work late. But tonight was different. A strange unease had settled in her chest, cold and piercing like the night air. That same afternoon they had gotten into a small argument. It was nothing serious, just a matter of money. Nia had asked Tariq to cut back a little on his most extravagant spending, but he had reacted with irritation. He said she did not understand the pressure of his work. Normally, on a night like this, Tariq would have sent a text. Still at the site. "Traffic is crazy. Don't wait up." But tonight, his phone remained silent. Nia had called him 3 times. The first time it rang, but he did not answer. The second and third went straight to voicemail. His battery probably died. Nia tried to reassure herself, but the bad feeling would not go away. Rain intensified outside. Its sound was like the incessant beating of a war drum. Nia approached the window and drew back the curtains. The street below was wet and glistening, empty. She hugged herself, feeling a chill. She thought of her mother-in-law, who always worried excessively whenever Tariq was late. Luckily, she did not live with them. Otherwise, the atmosphere would have been much more tense. Exactly at 12:30, the sharp ring of the landline shattered the silence. In the stillness of midnight, the sound was so loud that Nia jumped. Her heart began to pound immediately. The house phone almost never rang. With a trembling hand, she picked up the receiver. "Hello?" Her voice sounded choked. "Am I speaking with Mrs. Nia, wife of Mr. Tariq?" said a voice on the other end, monotone, professional, and terribly cold. "Yes, this is she. Has something happened to my husband?" Nia asked, gripping the receiver tight. "Ma'am, please remain calm. Your husband, Mr. Tariq, has suffered a serious traffic accident on Interstate 85. An ambulance has just brought him to Atlanta General Medical Center. His condition is critical. They are taking him to the operating room for emergency surgery right now." Nia's world seemed to stop. The receiver felt slippery in her hand. Critical. Surgery. Those words escaped like a whisper. "Yes, ma'am. The director of our hospital, Dr. Alistair Vaughn, is going to lead the operation. It would be best if you came to the hospital immediately." The voice continued, but Nia barely heard it. Dr. Alistair Vaughn. Nia knew that name. Dr. Vaughn was the family physician Tariq trusted. Tariq respected him enormously. This provided a slight comfort, but the word critical kept echoing in her head. Yes, I'm on my way right now." Nia hung up without waiting for a reply. For a few seconds, she stood there paralyzed. Her legs felt weak. No, this could not be. It is a nightmare. Her husband, Tariq, the strong black man who always seemed invincible, now in critical condition. Her brain ordered her body to move, but it refused. Then a jolt of adrenaline surged through her. She grabbed a long coat hanging by the door. She did not care about her appearance. She did not even change out of her silk robe. Car keys, wallet, that was all she could think about. She ran out of the apartment and took the elevator, feeling completely hollow. The rain slapped her cold cheeks as soon as she stepped out of the lobby. Nia ran toward her car in the parking lot. Her hands were shaking so much that she struggled to insert the key into the ignition. On the third try, the engine finally roared to life. She slammed on the gas without waiting for it to warm up. The drive to Atlanta General usually took 30 minutes, but that night, under the torrential rain and blinded by panic, the road seemed like an eternity. She drove like a madwoman. Tears mixed with the water on the windshield, blurring her vision. The wipers worked frantically, but not fast enough to clear the torrent of water and tears. Her thoughts jumped from one side to the other. The image of Tariq laughing at dinner last week, the image of Tariq angry during their argument that afternoon. Guilt stabbed her. Why had he gotten angry over money? What if that had been their last conversation? Lord, save him. Please, save my husband. Nia repeated over and over in a prayer. Her lips trembled. She no longer cared about running red lights or dangerously overtaking other cars. All she wanted was to arrive and see Tariq and confirm that the word critical had been a mistake. Finally, the imposing white building of Atlanta General appeared before her eyes. She parked the car haphazardly in the emergency zone, ignoring the shouts of a security guard. She ran into the emergency lobby, breathless, her clothes soaked with rain and tears. "My husband, Tariq! A traffic accident!" she screamed at the nurse at the information desk. The nurse consulted her computer. "Tariq, yes, they have taken him up to the 4th floor, to the surgical wing. Take that elevator and turn left, operating room 3. "Thank you." Nia did not waste a second. She pressed the elevator button impatiently. The wait felt eternal. She decided to run up the emergency stairs. She climbed the 4 floors without stopping, her heart about to explode. She reached the 4th floor. The hallway was silent, sterile, and smelled of that piercing scent of disinfectant she had always hated about hospitals. The corridor was long and shadowy, lit only by white fluorescent lights. Turning left, she saw it at the end of the hall. Double steel doors. Above them, a red light shone brightly next to words that froze her blood. Operating room 3, in session. Tariq was in there, fighting between life and death. Nia started to run again, tears welling up once more. She had to go in. She had to see him. She reached out a hand, trembling violently, ready to push that cold steel door. Nia's hand was just inches from the cold steel surface. She could feel the chill of the air conditioning emanating from the other side. She took a deep breath, preparing to burst in. She was willing to face anything just to be by Tariq's side. Just as her fingertips grazed the metal, a firm hand grabbed her arm from the side. "Don't do it!" Nia let out a small scream and spun around, startled. A young nurse was looking at her with frightened eyes. The nurse wore impeccable blue scrubs. Her surgical mask hung around her neck. Her face was pale, but her eyes burned with a terrifying urgency. Her ID badge read, "Ayana, nurse." "You are Tariq's wife, right?" the nurse whispered quickly, her voice low and desperate. Nia nodded, seized by panic, trying to break free from the nurse's grip. "Yes, my husband is in there. I have to go in. Let me go." "No." Nurse Ayana gripped her tighter, pulling her away from the operating room door. "You cannot go in. They must not know you are here. It is very important." Nia frowned. For a moment, confusion overtook panic. "What do you mean? Who are they? My husband is in critical condition. Listen to me, ma'am." Ayana's eyes locked onto Nia's, pleading. "I know this is going to sound crazy, but this is not a rescue operation. It is a trap." That word petrified Nia. A trap? What'd that mean? "Dr. Vaughn is in there." "That is precisely the problem," hissed Ayana. "There is no time for explanations. You have to hide right now." Ayana pulled Nia, who remained stunned. She pointed to a dark wooden door on the other side of the hallway, slightly hidden behind a vending machine. The door had no sign. It looked like a storage room or a utility closet. "Go in there. It is a staff locker room that is barely used at night. Lock the door from the inside. Whatever you hear, do not make any noise. Do not come out until I come to get you. No matter what happens, do not come out." Nia's mind was spinning. None of this made sense. A nurse was telling her to hide from her husband's surgery, calling it a trap. But the sheer terror in Ayana's eyes was too real. It was not an act. Something was very wrong in this hospital, behind that operating room door. "Why should I trust you?" whispered Nia, her voice trembling between fear and anger. "Because I am the only one who saw your husband's real medical chart before Dr. Vaughn changed it." Ayana said quickly. "He is not in critical condition from the accident. Quick, they could come out at any moment." That last sentence worked. Ayana practically pushed Nia to the other side of the hallway. With her mind in chaos, Nia followed her. She opened the locker room door. It was dark and smelled stale, like old coffee and sweat. Ayana shoved her inside. "Lock it and trust me," she whispered once more before closing the door silently from the outside. Nia heard the soft click of the door closing. She was alone in complete darkness. She fumbled for the lock on the handle and turned it shut. Her heart beat so hard her chest hurt. She was short of breath. She leaned against the door, trying to process what had just happened. Hide, trap, fake chart. Dr. Vaughn. Nia slid down to the cold floor. The room was only lit by a faint slit of light filtering from under the door. She could make out the silhouettes of rows of metal lockers around her. She hugged her knees, trying to stop the violent tremors shaking her body. What was happening? Was that nurse, Ayana, crazy, or had she just saved her life? Her thoughts returned to Tariq. If he was not in critical condition, where was he? What were they doing in there, in that operating room? Nia crawled silently toward the door and pressed her ear against the wood. Silence. The hallway outside was deserted. She heard nothing but the thunderous beating of her own heart. She looked through the keyhole, but she could only see the wall of the hallway opposite. She checked the time on her cell phone. 1 a.m. Time seemed to crawl. Every second was like an hour. She was alone in the dark, listening to a terrifying silence. Her mind filled with the worst possible scenarios. What if Nurse Ayana had locked her in here and Tariq really needed her? No. She had to trust her gut, and her gut told her that Ayana's eyes were sincere. She waited 1 minute, 2 minutes, straining her ears, catching every slight sound. Distant footsteps at the end of the hall, the hum of an ice machine, but nothing from operating room 3. 5 minutes. She was starting to feel suffocated. The room was stifling. She wanted to scream. She wanted to run out and break down that operating room door. 7 minutes. She prayed in her mind, no longer just for Tariq, but also for herself. She felt like a rat in a trap. 10 minutes. The 10 longest minutes of her life. Suddenly, she heard a crisp click from the other side, not at her door, but in the hallway. Nia held her breath. She pressed her eye to the keyhole, but the angle was not right. She moved, looking for a crack in the door hinges. Through the narrow space between the door and the frame, she could see the red light above operating room 3 had turned off. The operation was over. Then, Nia heard a soft hiss. The steel doors of the operating room were opening. The steel doors of the operating room opened with a silent hiss. In the stillness of the sterile hallway, the sound was like a glacier cracking. Nia held her breath, her entire body tense behind the dark locker room door. She kept her eyes fixed on the narrow slit between the door and the frame, her only window to a world that had just turned upside down. The first silhouette to emerge was Dr. Alistair Vaughn. He was still wearing his blue surgical scrubs, but he had already pulled his mask down to his neck. He did not look like a doctor who had just fought for the life of a critical patient. He did not look tired or stressed or sad. He looked relaxed, with methodical movements. He was peeling off rubber gloves stained with what Nia now knew was fake blood. She felt the first wave of nausea. Then a second silhouette appeared. Nia expected a gurney. She expected a helpless body covered by a sheet. She expected the beep of a heart monitor. What she saw froze the blood in her veins. It was Tariq, her husband. Tariq was not lying down. He was not being pushed on a gurney. Tariq was walking. He walked out of the operating room on his own 2 feet. He was also wearing blue surgical scrubs, as if he were part of the team and not the patient. He stretched, turning his neck from side to side as if he had been sitting for too long. He was healthy, strong, and completely unharmed. Nia covered her mouth with both hands. A whimper of despair almost escaped her throat. This was impossible. It was a hallucination. It had to be the effect of shock and panic. And then a third person came out. A woman. She was tall, slender, with long weaves flowing down her back, and under her doctor's coat, she wore an elegant evening dress. Nia recognized her instantly. Janice, Tariq's personal assistant. The one who always looked at her with disdain at company events. Tariq had always told Nia that her jealousy was unfounded. Turned out, Nia was not blind. She had simply been naive. The plan worked perfectly. Tariq's voice rang crisp in the silent hallway. It was deep and calm, without the slightest tremor of pain. Nia felt as if she had been punched in the stomach. Dr. Vaughn chuckled as he tossed the gloves into a biohazard bin. Of course it worked. The emergency staff is on my side. The fake accident report is in the system. The fake ambulance did its job. Officially, right now, Mr. Tariq has suffered severe internal bleeding. I am dying to see Nia's face, Janice said with a voice that sounded like the hiss of a snake. She handed Tariq a bottle of water. I bet she is on her way. Crying a river, seized by panic. Poor idiot. Tariq laughed. He laughed. That laugh that once always reassured Nia now sounded like that of a demon. She will be completely devastated. She is so stupid. Nia bit into the palm of her hand. The physical pain was nothing compared to the pain in her heart. Not only had they betrayed her, they were mocking her. They had turned her into the punchline of their macabre plan. The important thing is that when she arrives, Dr. Vaughn intervened, his tone becoming serious again. We have to play our parts, Tariq. You have to go to the recovery room. Quick, lie down. We will hook up the IV and the monitors. You have to look weak but stable. Post-op. I know, Tariq said, rolling his eyes. I am weak, but thanks to this great doctor, I survived. I will meet Nia in the waiting room, continued Dr. Vaughn. I will give her the good and the bad news. The operation was a success. The bleeding stopped, but... He paused dramatically. But? Asked Janice, eyes shining with anticipation. But, said Dr. Vaughn, a slight smile drawing on his lips, I will tell her that during the surgery we found something else, a very dangerous blood clot near the liver. I will tell her that I need her signature for a second procedure tomorrow morning, a very urgent and high-risk internal cleaning procedure. Of course, added Tariq with a malicious smile. Exactly, nodded Dr. Vaughn. A procedure with a very high risk of complications with the anesthesia. If something were to happen to her on the operating table, it would be a pity, but we would have done everything possible. Nia finally understood. Everything clicked into place. The target was not Tariq. The accident was not real. It was all a setup for her. Her mind raced back 3 weeks. Tariq had come home with a stack of papers for a new life insurance policy worth millions of dollars. Nia asked him why they needed a new one. He said it was to secure their retirement, their future. Nia remembered joking, "Why am I the one insured? It should be you with how dangerous your work on the sites is." Tariq simply laughed and said, "It's part of an investment package, baby. You just sign." And Nia, trusting as always, signed. She had just signed her own death warrant, and the argument that afternoon had not been about spending. Nia had complained that the premium for the new insurance was too expensive. She had asked Tariq to cancel it. No wonder he got so angry. Nia, unknowingly, was ruining his murder plan. And when she doesn't wake up from the operating table, Tariq's voice pulled her out of her horrifying thoughts. The insurance payout is millions of dollars. Can we leave this country and start a new life in Switzerland? Janice laughed and hung onto Tariq's arm. I have already booked the tickets to Zurich. The 3 of them, her husband, his mistress, and her family doctor. The 3 of them had planned her murder in such detail in the place that should be the safest in the world. A hospital. Nia's blood was no longer frozen. It began to boil. The fear that had paralyzed her was slowly transforming into something else, something cold, hard, and sharp. Fury. She watched the 3 of them walk calmly down the hall, away from the operating room. They probably turned the corner for the elevator to the recovery room. The sound of their footsteps faded. The hallway became silent again. Naya leaned against the door, her body shaking violently, but it was no longer from fear. She was shaking with pure rage. She was trapped alone in a dark, stifling locker room while her murderers were on the same floor waiting for her to fall into their trap. She had to get out of there. But how? Suddenly she heard a sound at her door, not in the hallway. A soft click. Someone was inserting a key from the outside. Nia froze. Her heart stopped. Did they know she was here? Did Shanice, Tariq, Dr. Vaughn realize someone was listening? Had they come back for her? The doorknob turned slowly. The door opened with a faint creak. A beam of light from the hallway pierced the darkness, blinding Naya. A small figure in blue scrubs entered quickly. "Mrs. Naya?" she whispered. A wave of relief so immense washed over Naya that her legs almost failed her. It was Nurse Ayana. Ayana quickly closed the door and locked it again from the inside. She leaned against it, panting. Under the dim light filtering from under the door, her face was pale as a ghost. "Did you see them, ma'am?" asked Ayana, her voice trembling. Nia could not speak. She could only nod. Tears of rage and betrayal finally rolled down her cheeks. "Did you hear their conversation?" insisted Ayana. Nia nodded again. "Everything," she whispered hoarsely. "The insurance, the fake surgery, the plan they have for me tomorrow." Ayana closed her eyes for a moment, as if she felt the pain with her. "Lord have mercy, I suspected it. But to hear it, why? Why are you helping me?" Nia asked, looking at the young black nurse. "You are risking everything." Ayana sat on the floor next to Nia and took a deep breath. "I have been suspicious of Dr. Vaughn for a long time, ever since I was a rookie nurse in surgical administration." Nia listened, clinging to Ayana's arm as if it were the only anchor in her newly shattered world. "He is not a doctor," Ayana said quietly, staring at the lockers opposite. "He is a butcher. His specialty is accidents. On the operating table, he looks for rich patients with big insurance policies or elderly patients without family. He schedules a simple surgery. Then, during the operation, there are complications. A fatal reaction to anesthesia, unexpected bleeding, something that can never be proven as medical negligence. The patient dies," Ayana continued, her voice hardening. "The payout is made, and somehow Dr. Vaughn always receives a generous donation for his research a few weeks later. He is a despicable human being." "But how did you know about Tariq? About me?" Naya asked. "I was on duty on the surgical floor tonight," explained Ayana. "I saw the emergency surgery scheduled under Tariq's name. The code was blunt abdominal trauma. But there was something weird. There was no backup data from the ER. Usually an emergency patient's data enters automatically. This was blank. It was as if this patient had appeared out of nowhere in front of the operating room." A chill ran down Nia's spine. "Out of curiosity," continued Ayana, "I used my access to check the system logs. I saw that Dr. Vaughn himself had entered the data manually from his computer, very unusual for such a prestigious surgeon. So I did something reckless. I knew the access code to his office. An hour ago, while he was prepping for surgery, I snuck in. I had to know what he was hiding." Ayana's eyes shone. In a locked drawer of his desk, I found the real file. Under Tariq's name. It wasn't accident data. It was a report from a full medical checkup from 2 days ago. The result was in perfect, absolute health. "Of course it was," thought Nia bitterly. "And in the same drawer," Ayana's voice became even lower, "was your file, ma'am, a copy of the new life insurance policy. The amount was astronomical, and at the bottom, in the medical advisor section, was Dr. Vaughn's name. Everything fit, the fake accident, the fake surgery, and the plan for a second and deadly operation for you." "I knew I didn't have much time," said Nurse Ayana. "I knew they would call you. I didn't know what their plan was, but I knew you couldn't meet them before knowing the truth. I ran to the hallway hoping to intercept you, and luckily I did." Naya squeezed the nurse's hand. "You saved my life, Ayana." "Not yet," said Ayana seriously. "We are barely starting. They know you are coming. They are waiting for you." "What do I have to do?" asked Nia, feeling panic grip her again. I can't act. I can't look Tariq in the face and pretend I'm sad." "You have to," said Ayana firmly. "You have to play your role just like they play theirs. Right now, they will have moved Tariq to the recovery room at the end of this hall. They will call you at any moment. You have to pretend you are devastated, sad, relieved that he survived. Cry." Ayana's instructions were quick and precise. "When they hand you the papers for tomorrow's operation, you have to refuse. If I refuse, they will suspect." "Do not refuse outright. Say you are in shock, that you need time to think, that you have to call your mother-in-law first. Any excuse. The important thing is that you do not sign anything tonight. We need time." "Time for what?" asked Nia. "To get physical evidence," said Ayana. "We can't run. They will chase you. We can't go to the police with just our story. They will say you are a hysterical woman. We need irrefutable proof." "What proof?" "First, Tariq's real health report that I saw in Dr. Vaughn's office. Second, the file of the fake surgery in the system. And third, the security camera recordings." Naya's eyes widened. "Security cameras?" "Yes, I am sure Tariq did not arrive at this hospital in an ambulance," said Ayana. "He came on his own. Most likely he parked in the underground staff parking lot, which is more secluded. If we can get the security camera footage from tonight of him walking calmly into the hospital, we will destroy his entire accident alibi." "Dr. Vaughn's office is in the basement," said Naya, her brain starting to work. "Correct. Next to the archives room and the camera server room," confirmed Nurse Ayana. "It is his lair." Nurse Ayana pulled a white card from her pocket. "This is a spare master access card. I swiped it from the reception desk earlier, but there is a problem. The basement hallway is monitored by cameras, and Dr. Vaughn often monitors them himself from his computer." Nia looked at the card in Ayana's hand. It seemed to weigh a ton. "I will create a distraction," said Ayana. "I am going to trigger the fire alarm on an upper floor. That will keep all the security guards busy." "Will that give me some time?" asked Nia, her heart racing. "You have to sneak down to the basement," said Ayana, looking Nia directly in the eye. "Enter Dr. Vaughn's office and find Tariq's real file. Then go to the server room. Get the recordings from the last few hours. If you have a data cable, you can transfer them to your phone." Nia patted the pockets of her robe. She had her phone, but no cable. "Use this," said Ayana, unhooking a small USB drive from her uniform keychain. "Plug it into the server and copy the data. Fast." "Ayana, I don't know how to do this." "You can do it," interrupted Ayana. "You have to do it. It is our only chance. Afterwards, meet me at the basement emergency exit. We will get out of here together." Nurse Ayana had just assigned her a mission impossible: go down into the wolf's mouth and steal evidence while her murderers roamed free upstairs. Just then, the phone in Nia's hand vibrated. The name on the screen made her blood boil again. "Dr. Alistair Vaughn." "They have started," whispered Nurse Ayana, eyes wide. "Answer it. Play your role. Weak, hysterical, submissive." Nia took a deep breath, swiped her finger across the screen to answer. Nia breathed deeply. The stale air of the locker room seemed to compress her lungs. In her hand, the phone vibrated like a furious snake. Dr. Alistair Vaughn's name glowed on the screen. This was her stage. It was time to act. "Answer," whispered Nurse Ayana. "Remember, weak, hysterical, submissive." Nia swiped the green icon and brought the phone to her ear. She summoned all the pain and betrayal she had just felt and channeled it into a voice full of fear, forcing a convincing sob. "Yes, doctor?" "Mrs. Naya, thank God." Dr. Vaughn's voice on the other end was so warm, so affectionate, so full of compassion that it made Nia want to vomit. "Where are you? We were waiting for you. I have to speak with you. I just arrived. Tariq, my husband." "How is he, doctor?" sobbed Nia, playing her part perfectly. There was a dramatic pause. "He is a strong man, Mrs. Nia. The operation was very difficult. We almost lost him. The bleeding was very severe. Nia closed her eyes, picturing Tariq walking out of the operating room. So healthy. My team and I managed to stop the bleeding. He is still very weak, but he has passed the worst. He is in the recovery room near the surgical area on the 4th floor. Oh, thank God. Thank God, cried Nia again, this time feigning relief. You can see him now, but there is another matter we must discuss immediately regarding the next steps. Dr. Vaughn's tone turned serious. Meet me in recovery room 2. Yes, doctor. I'm coming right now. Nia hung up, looked at Nurse Ayana with a hardened face. It's time, said Nia. Remember, said Ayana, grabbing Nia by the shoulders. They will present you with the papers. Do not sign. Make any excuse. Say you are in shock, that you have to call family, and then get out of there. I will handle the distraction. Go down to the basement via the service elevator at the end of the hall, near the emergency stairs. I will wait for you at the basement exit. Bring the evidence. Nia nodded. She silently opened the locker room door. The hallway was calm. She took a deep breath once more and stepped out. She no longer walked like the terrified Nia. She walked like a Nia on the hunt, but on the outside, a devastated wife. She walked down the hall with a deliberately unsteady gait. She saw the door marked Recovery Room 2. She pushed it gently. The room was darker, lit only by the glow of monitors next to the bed. And there they were, Dr. Vaughn standing by the bed with a clipboard. The snake Janice standing in a corner with an expression of fake concern on her face. And in the bed lay Tariq. Nia almost let out a bitter laugh. His performance was flawless. Tariq's face was made up to look pale. An IV, which Nia was sure contained only saline, was connected to the back of his hand. An ECG monitor beside him beeped a steady and convincing beep, beep, beep. Tariq's eyes were closed. His chest rose and fell with controlled breathing to appear weak. Tariq, oh baby. Nia rushed to the bedside and began to sob hysterically. She took his hand. It was warm and strong, not the hand of a man who had just brushed with death. Nia had to use all her willpower not to crush her husband's fingers. Doctor, he is so pale, said Nia, turning to Dr. Vaughn with eyes full of fake tears. Dr. Vaughn patted her on the shoulder. He has lost a lot of blood, ma'am, but he will recover. As I told you, he is strong, thank God, but, said Dr. Vaughn, the word Nia was waiting for. There is a problem. Nia lifted her face with a look of fear. What problem, doctor? While we were operating to stop the bleeding, Dr. Vaughn explained patiently, as if talking to a child, we found something unexpected, a quite large blood clot near the liver. It is not related to the accident, but it is extremely dangerous. It could burst at any moment. Nia looked at him with trembling lips. You mean, we have to remove it immediately, said Dr. Vaughn firmly. I have already scheduled a second emergency surgery for tomorrow at 9 a.m, a cleaning procedure. In the corner, Janice suppressed a smile. Another operation, whispered Nia. It is for his safety, but... Dr. Vaughn turned a page on his clipboard. The procedure is very risky. It is a delicate area. There is a high risk of complications with the anesthesia and internal bleeding. I need your consent. Dr. Vaughn held the clipboard out to Nia. On it was a sheet titled, Consent for High-Risk Surgery, and below it a blank line waiting for her signature, the signature of her own death warrant that would later be switched to her name. Or perhaps it was the consent for Tariq that they would later use as a pretext to operate on her. Whatever it was the trap. Suddenly, Tariq's eyes fluttered open slightly. Sign it, baby, he whispered weakly like a third-rate actor. I trust Dr. Vaughn. Janice stepped forward. Mrs. Nia, Tariq needs it. Please do not hesitate. It is for him. The three of them surrounded her. 3 wolves waiting for a lamb. Nia looked at the pen Dr. Vaughn was offering. She looked at Tariq's fake, sick face. She looked at Shanice's cynical smile. Nia started to shake violently, this time half for real. I can't. "Mrs. Nia, it is urgent," urged Dr. Vaughn, his smile starting to fade. "I can't!" screamed Nia, pushing the clipboard away. "I feel dizzy. I have nausea. Another high-risk operation. I have to call my mother-in-law, Tariq's mother. I can't take this decision alone." She feigned choking on a sob. "I need some air. I need to go to the bathroom." Before Dr. Vaughn or Chanis could react, Nia ran out of the room. She heard Dr. Vaughn shout her name. "Mrs. Nia, wait!" But Nia did not stop. She ran down the hallway, rounded a corner, and past the nurse's station. She did not go to the nearest bathroom. She ran toward the end of the hallway, toward where Nurse Ayana had indicated earlier. Just as she reached the last corner, a deafening fire alarm echoed throughout the building. The sound came from an upper floor. Nurses began coming out of rooms confused. A security guard ran toward the main elevators talking into his radio. It was Ayana's distraction. In the midst of the chaos, no one noticed Nia. She saw a metal door that said, "Service Elevator, Staff Only." She swiped the card Ayana had given her. The door opened. Nia stepped into the narrow metal cabin that smelled of oil. She pressed the B button for basement. The elevator doors closed, muffling the chaotic sound of the alarm. Alone in the descending elevator, Nia leaned against the wall with her heart beating 1,000 miles an hour. She had won the first round, but now she was going down into the wolf's mouth. The service elevator stopped with a soft ding. The doors opened. The view before her contrasted sharply with the clean, well-lit surgical floor. The hospital basement was dark, cold, and smelled of dampness. Large pipes ran along the low ceiling, some dripping water onto the cracked concrete floor. The sound of the fire alarm from above was a distant, muffled echo. Nia stepped out with Ayana's card tightly clutched in her hand. She was alone in a spooky silence. She followed the barely visible signs on the walls: archives, maintenance, server room. At the end of the corridor, in a slightly better-lit area, she saw them. 2 doors, side by side. One said, "Dr. Alastair Vaughn, Chief of Surgery." The other was a heavy metal door that said, "Server Room, Restricted Access." This was his lair. Nia decided to go to Dr. Vaughn's office first for Tariq's medical report. She swiped the card. The heavy wooden door opened noiselessly. She slipped inside. The office was surprisingly luxurious: thick carpets, a huge mahogany desk, and towering bookshelves. It smelled of expensive coffee and leather. Malpractice money must be good. Nia ran to the desk. The drawers were locked. Damn! She didn't have time to pick them. Her gaze went to the shelves. Among the thick medical tomes were rows of binders. She read the labels: Research Agenda, Patients. She pulled out the one for Patients. Not there. She pulled out another. Special Projects. And inside she found it. A thin folder without a label. She opened it. Her heart skipped a beat. There it was. The report of Tariq's medical checkup dated 2 days ago. At the bottom, a large red stamp read, "Optimal Physical Condition." Next to it was another thicker folder. Nia opened it. They were financial reports. A final notice from a bank, a bankruptcy filing for a multi-million-dollar debt in the name of Tariq's construction company. Here was the physical evidence and the motive. Nia pulled out her phone. Her hands were shaking so much she could barely open the camera app. She photographed every page, one by one. The checkup page, the optimal stamp, and the bank debts. Done. She put the files back in their place. Now the cameras. She left the office, closing the door stealthily. She headed to the metal door of the server room, swiped the card. The door opened. A blast of cold air and a loud hum greeted her. The room was full of server racks, with green and yellow lights blinking. She located a stack of monitors and video recorders in a corner. She read the labels: lobby, hallway 4th floor, ER, and finally, underground staff parking. Bingo! She took out the USB drive Ayana had given her and inserted it into a USB port on the recorder. A progress bar appeared on the small monitor screen. Copying. Nia's heart beat to the rhythm of the slowly rising percentage. 10%. 20%. She saw the real-time recording of the parking lot. It was deserted. 30%. 40%. Please, hurry up. 50%, 60%. Suddenly she heard a noise, not inside the server room, but outside, in the basement hallway. Footsteps, 2 people walking fast. Nia's heart stopped. The fire alarm must have been turned off. They were looking for her. 70%, 80%. The footsteps got closer, stopped right outside. She couldn't have gone far, she heard Dr. Vaughn's crisp voice. You check my office. I'll check the server room. Nia panicked. She looked at the screen. 95%, 98%. The doorknob of the server room started to turn. 99%, copy complete. Nia yanked out the USB drive. Just as the server room door opened, Nia spun around, her body slamming against a server rack behind her. In the doorway stood Dr. Vaughn, eyes burning with rage. Behind him, Chanice smiled triumphantly. "Looking for me, Nia?" sneered Chanice with a sweet but deadly voice. "It was a good game, Mrs. Nia," said Dr. Vaughn, entering the room. He looked at the video recorder and then the USB drive in Nia's hand. Hiding in the locker room, faking a hysteria attack, running to the basement. Did you really think we were that stupid? And Nurse Ayana? Whispered Nia. That little busybody, chuckled Dr. Vaughn. We have already taken care of her. She won't bother anyone else. Nia's stomach twisted with terror. What had they done to Ayana? Thought you were smart, huh? Said Chanice, stepping forward and snatching the phone from Nia. She looked at the photo gallery. Ah, our evidence. How adorable. She deleted the photos one by one in front of Nia's eyes. Tariq, the money, all deleted. But I have this, screamed Nia, holding up the USB drive. The footage of Tariq walking in. You can't delete this. Dr. Vaughn smiled. It was the coldest smile Nia had ever seen. Really? Look closely at what you copied. Nia was confused. That recording you worked so hard to copy, explained Dr. Vaughn, as if instructing a student, is a loop of last night's footage, prepared especially for anyone who came snooping. Nia looked at the USB drive in her hand. Now it felt useless. And the files in my office, continued Dr. Vaughn. That medical report was a fake copy we planted there, on purpose, as bait. The originals are already destroyed. It was a trap. Her entire escape to the basement had been a trap. They had let her escape from the recovery room. On purpose, they had herded her down here. Welcome to the trap, Mrs. Nia, said Dr. Vaughn. Now you have 2 options. Either you sign the consent the easy way. Chanice stepped forward, pulling something from behind her back. A large syringe filled with a clear liquid. Or we will make you sign it, said Chanice. And after that, we can proceed with your second procedure, right here, right now. The cold server room suddenly felt hot and suffocating. The walls of buzzing server racks seemed to close in on her, trapping her with her 2 predators. Dr. Vaughn's words had hit her like a sledgehammer. The flash drive was fake. The photos on her phone had been deleted. Nurse Ayana had been neutralized. She was alone. Every step she had thought was a smart move was actually a path they had laid out for her. She had danced to their tune, and now she had reached the end of the song, right in the jaws of the wolf. Chanice smiled. It was a smile of pure satisfaction. She spun the large syringe in her hand. The clear liquid inside shimmered under the fluorescent lights. Come on, Nia, hissed Chanice. Choose, sign the easy way, or take a little nap first. Dr. Vaughn presented the clipboard again. The signature line seemed to mock her. Playtime is over, Mrs. Nia. We have a schedule to keep. Nia's mind raced. The fear was there, a cold and paralyzing fear, but beneath it, the fury she had felt earlier in the locker room began to burn again. It was no longer an ember, but an inferno consuming the fear. They thought they had won. They thought she was the submissive, stupid wife. They were dead wrong. If the new evidence is fake, I'll have to use the old evidence. Nia raised her hands, feigning trembling. She looked at Dr. Vaughn with pleading eyes. Okay, I lost. You won. Dr. Vaughn smiled slightly. A wise choice. "I will sign," said Naya hoarsely. But please, let me make a quick call to my mother-in-law. Just want to hear her voice one more time." Janice scoffed. "Oh, how dramatic." Dr. Vaughn seemed to consider it for a moment. "No calls. Sign now. I'm getting impatient." "At least give me back my phone then," said Naya, pointing to her phone in Janice's hand. "My family contacts are in there. I just want to see a photo of my mama." Janice rolled her eyes but looked at Dr. Vaughn, who nodded slightly. "Give it to her. She can't call anyone from this basement anyway. We blocked all signals." Of course they had. They had planned everything. Janice threw the phone at Nia's feet. "Here." Nia crouched slowly, every movement calculated to look defeated and broken. She picked up the phone. Her hands shook, but this time she controlled them. Her heart pounded, not from fear, but adrenaline. She held the phone looking at the dark screen. "Thank you," she whispered. She straightened up, and in an instant, her entire demeanor changed. Her back, previously hunched, was now straight. Her pleading eyes were now a hard, cold stare. Her face, previously pale, was now tense. Dr. Vaughn and Janice felt the shift. Their smiles faltered slightly. "You're right," said Nia with a flat, cold voice. "It was a good game, good bait, but you got one thing wrong." "And what is that?" sneered Janice. "You thought I discovered my husband's rot tonight," said Naya. "But I've been smelling this trash for months." She unlocked her phone. Janice had deleted the photos from the gallery, but Janice didn't know how to find a hidden audio folder. "Before I sign," said Naya, "I would like you to hear this. Take it as a lullaby." She pressed the play button. For a second, nothing happened. Then a voice filled the server room. Tariq's voice, clear and crisp. "No, I don't care about your gratitude. Just make sure the consulting fees are in the Swiss account by the end of the month. 2 million. Clean them. I don't want to know how. Just make sure." The recording was from 3 months ago, a call between Tariq and a partner. Tariq's organizing bribes and money laundering for his latest construction project. Naya had recorded it secretly while he argued in his home office, thinking she might use it as a weapon in a future divorce. She never imagined she would use it to save her life. Dr. Vaughn and Janice froze. Their faces went pale. "That," stuttered Dr. Vaughn, "that has nothing to do with this." "Oh, sure it does, doctor," said Naya, stepping forward. "This proves my husband's character. It proves he is a criminal. And this recording, combined with my testimony, will have the police investigating all his dealings, including his insurance dealings with you." "You won't leave this room alive," hissed Janice, raising the syringe. "Probably not," said Naya with a defiant look. "But this phone," she held the phone high, "is recording our entire conversation in this room from the moment you walked in." It was a bluff. The signal was really cut. It couldn't be transmitting anything. But they didn't know that. "And this recording," continued Naya, raising her voice, "is connected to the cloud. If my heart stops, or if I don't enter a password in the next 5 minutes, this recording, the recording of your confession, of your threats, along with the recording of Tariq's money laundering, will be sent automatically to my lawyer, the editor-in-chief of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and my mother-in-law." Dr. Vaughn's eyes went wide with terror. The bluff had worked. He bought it. "Stop her!" shouted Dr. Vaughn, seized by panic. "Janice, inject her now!" Janice snapped out of her stupor, screamed, and lunged at Nia with the syringe pointed like a dagger. Naya backed up, crashing into the cold server racks. There was nowhere to run. She raised her hands to protect her face, bracing for the prick of the needle. "Stop!" A new voice echoed in the underground space, a voice full of fury and authority. The server room door that Dr. Vaughn had closed burst open. In the doorway stood Tariq. He was still wearing his fake scrubs. His face was red with anger. His eyes burned. He didn't look like a weak patient. He looked like a king who had just discovered his subordinates had betrayed him. "What the hell are you doing here?" roared Tariq, his voice echoing. "The plan was the recovery room, not the basement." He stopped dead, taking in the scene before him. A panicked Dr. Vaughn, a frozen Chanice with a syringe in hand, and Nia standing tall in front of a server holding her phone like a weapon. Tariq looked at Nia, and the fury on his face slowly transformed into surprise, and then a cold mask of hate. He finally understood. His wife knew everything. A stalemate. 4 people in the humming server room. The 3 predators now looked at each other with suspicion. Their prey was in the center, holding the most important card. Tariq walked in. His eyes never left Nia. "So," he said in a dangerously low voice, "you knew." "I knew everything, Tariq," replied Nia, her voice equally cold. "The fake surgery, the insurance, your plan to kill me tomorrow on the operating table." Tariq turned sharply to Dr. Vaughn. "You said she wouldn't know. You said you took care of Nurse Ayanna." She set us up," stuttered Dr. Vaughn, pointing at Nia. "She faked the hysteria attack, and she has a recording, an old recording of yours about your business." Tariq's face hardened. "What recording?" "Play it again, Nia," she ordered herself mentally. She had to turn them against each other. Nia pressed the play button again. Tariq's voice, ordering the laundering of $2 million, filled the room again. Tariq closed his eyes. He knew that recording. He knew exactly when it had taken place, but he had no idea Nia had recorded it. "You?" hissed Tariq, looking at Nia. "So this was your plan. Trap me with that." "That is just the beginning," said Nia. She had to keep pressing. "That only proves your character, but this," she held up the phone again, "is proof of your crimes tonight." "What do you mean?" asked Tariq. "This phone," Nia repeated her bluff, "has recorded every word in this room. Dr. Vaughn's confession about taking care of Ayanna, Chanice's threats to inject me, and now you are here confirming the plan." Chanice and Dr. Vaughn took a step back, but Tariq laughed, a dry, terrible laugh. "Do you take me for an idiot, Nia? This is a basement. No signal, no cloud, no lawyers. Nothing has been sent." Tariq moved closer. "Whatever is on that phone will be destroyed right here with you." Nia's heart sank. She knew her bluff had failed. Tariq knew her too well. "Give me that phone," ordered Tariq, reaching out. "No," whispered Nia. "Give it to me." Tariq lunged. He was faster than Nia expected. His hand closed over her wrist, twisting it brutally. Nia screamed in pain. The phone slipped from her hand, sliding across the concrete floor. The screen cracked. Tariq grinned, raising his foot to crush it. "Game over, baby." Too late. A new voice, loud and confident, came from the door. Everyone turned. In the doorway stood Nurse Ayanna. She was unharmed. She hadn't been neutralized. She stood tall, face full of righteous indignation, and she wasn't alone. Behind her were 2 burly hospital security guards with stern faces. Tariq's eyes widened. Dr. Vaughn stumbled back. "No. Impossible." "Did you really think I was that stupid, Doctor?" said Ayanna, walking into the room. "Thought I would send Mrs. Nia alone into your lair." "What? What are you talking about?" stuttered Dr. Vaughn. "The fire alarm earlier," explained Ayanna, "wasn't a distraction for the guards. It was a distraction for you. While you were busy chasing Nia, these gentlemen and I," she pointed to the guards, "went to the central control room. We disabled the fake loop on this server. We took control." Ayanna pointed to a security camera in the corner of the server room ceiling. Its little red light was blinking. "It was recording every word you said in this room," said Ayanna. "Every threat, every confession has been recorded in real time by the head of hospital security." Tariq, Dr. Vaughn, and Chanice looked at that camera in horror. They were trapped, completely trapped. "And that flash drive," added Nia, pointing to the drive still on the recorder table. "That was the real bait. Bait to keep you busy." Nia looked at Tariq. "While you were chasing me, Ayanna copied the real footage of your arrival. You walking calmly through the staff lobby, laughing with Chanice. We have it all secured." Silence. The hum of the servers was the only sound. Tariq's face was livid. His perfect plan had crumbled. Dr. Vaughn was the first to crack. He knew his career, his life, was over. His eyes darted frantically around. He saw the syringe Chinese had dropped when Tariq entered. With a desperate roar, Dr. Vaughn lunged for it. "You won't catch me!" He didn't attack Nia. He attacked the only person with the technical evidence, Nurse Ayana. "Ayana, look out!" screamed Nia. But Ayana didn't move. She had foreseen it. As Dr. Vaughn lunged at her, Ayana didn't back down. She stepped forward, pulling her own syringe from her uniform pocket. Much smaller, but just as lethal. "Take this," said Ayana calmly, just as Dr. Vaughn entered her range, plunging the syringe directly into the doctor's thick thigh. "It is a potent sedative, max dose. You know the effects, right, Doctor?" Dr. Vaughn stopped dead. His eyes went wide with surprise. He looked at the syringe sticking out of his thigh. He tried to pull it out, but his hands started to shake. His legs gave way. He collapsed to the floor like a sack of potatoes. His eyes rolled back, unconscious. Janice screamed hysterically, seeing her accomplice fall. She lost her composure completely. She didn't attack. She turned around and tried to push through the security guards to flee. But the second guard grabbed her easily by the arm and handcuffed her. Only Tariq remained. He stood there staring stunned at the collapsed Dr. Vaughn, the sobbing Chinese, and Naya, who looked at him with fearless eyes. A blind fury took over him. If he was going down, he was taking Nia with him. "This is all your fault!" he roared. He forgot about the guards. He forgot about the camera. His eyes only saw Naya. Tariq threw himself forward, hands ready to strangle his wife. The room exploded into chaos. Tariq's furious scream, "This is all your fault!" echoed amidst the hum of the servers. His eyes were bloodshot, pupils dilated by adrenaline and pure hate. He no longer saw the security guards, nor cared about the recording camera. His only target was Naya. He lunged forward. The first security guard, who wasn't holding Chinese, reacted quickly. "Sir, don't move!" he shouted, stepping in to block Tariq. But Tariq, driven by the desperation of a man who has lost everything, had unexpected strength. He rammed his shoulder into the guard's chest, making the man stumble. The second guard couldn't let go of the struggling Janice. In a split second, Tariq had bypassed the defense. He reached Nia, extending his hands. He didn't grab her neck. He roughly grabbed the collar of her robe, pulling hard. Nia's head jerked forward, and she let out a moan of pain. Tariq's other hand clawed at her shoulder, his nails tearing the fabric of her pajamas. "I'm going to kill you," he growled, face inches from Nia's. But Nia was no longer the same woman from 3 hours ago. The paralyzing fear was gone, replaced by a primal instinct for survival. When Tariq pulled her, Nia didn't let herself be dragged passively. She brought her knee up with all her might, hitting Tariq in the groin. He grunted in pain but didn't let go. On the contrary, he became even more enraged. He started shaking her brutally. "Let her go!" shouted Ayana, running to help. That was when the first security guard recovered. He saw Tariq attacking Nia. He gave no more warnings. He lunged from behind, wrapping his massive arms around Tariq's chest in a powerful bear hug. "You are under arrest! You are under arrest!" Tariq's body was lifted off the floor, but his grip on Nia's clothes didn't yield. Nia was dragged with him, almost choking. "Let go! Let go!" screamed Nia, tearing at her own clothes in an attempt to free herself from Tariq's grip. Tariq now directed his fury at the guard holding him. He struggled, kicked, and elbowed backward. "Get off me! She is mine!" "Calm down! Do not resist!" ordered the guard, trying to bring Tariq down to the floor. But Tariq was too wild. He twisted with all his might, trying to break free from the hug. It was a desperate, violent, and reckless move. The brutal twist managed to break the guard's grip, but it also threw Tariq himself off balance. He stumbled backward. His left foot caught on the leg of the unconscious Dr. Vaughn lying on the floor. Nia, Ayana, and the 2 security guards watched it all in horrible slow motion. Tariq fell backward. He didn't fall onto the smooth floor. He fell directly toward the main server rack, a solid black metal frame full of heavy hardware. His back hit the rack first, but the momentum of his fall was too strong. His head snapped back. The nape of his neck and the base of his skull impacted against the sharp steel edge of the server frame. The sound wasn't loud. It wasn't so much a bang as a dry crunch, a horrible crack like a dry branch snapping. Silence. All sound in the room ceased. Shanice stopped screaming. The guards froze. The steady hum of the servers suddenly sounded deafeningly loud. Tariq didn't slide to the floor. He remained suspended in a strange sitting position with his back against the rack and his head hanging to one side at an unnatural angle. His eyes were open, staring straight ahead, looking at Nia. But the look was different. The burning fury had extinguished. What remained was pure shock and confusion. "Tariq," whispered Nia, taking a step forward. The guard who had held him now approached cautiously. "Mr. Tariq? Ambulance! Ambulance to the basement!" he shouted to his partner. Tariq opened his mouth. No sound came out, just a shallow wheeze. He tried to lift a hand. It didn't move. He tried to move his legs. They remained motionless. A pure and absolute terror, a different kind of terror than rage, now filled his eyes. He looked at Nia, tried to speak again. His voice was a gritty whisper. "I can't move. My legs," he whispered again. "My hands. No. I don't feel anything." Nia looked at her husband, the man who had tried to kill her seconds before, the man who had planned her death on an operating table, the man who had pretended to be paralyzed. Now he was truly paralyzed. "Lord have mercy," whispered Ayana, covering her mouth. Nia felt nothing, no compassion, no satisfaction, just a cold emptiness. She looked into that man's eyes, now full of tears of genuine terror. The irony was too cruel, too fast, too perfect. Karma had arrived, not in a courtroom, not in a cell, but right here, in the cold server room, in the middle of his own evil plan. Tariq was trapped, truly trapped, not behind prison bars, but in the prison of his own body. "Don't touch him!" shouted the security guard, seeing Nia approach. "Don't touch his neck. Let the medical team handle it." Nia stopped. She stood there looking at her now helpless husband. The healthy man had become a real patient, much more serious than he had ever pretended to be. The server room doors opened again. This time it was the real head of security, followed by 2 uniformed APD officers he had called as soon as he saw the live footage. They stopped in the doorway surveying the scene. Shanice, handcuffed and weeping. Dr. Vaughn, unconscious on the floor. Tariq, paralyzed against a server rack. And Nia, standing in the middle of the ruins of her life, with torn clothes but standing tall. The game was over. Dawn came slowly. The first rays of sun filtered through the high windows of the hospital lobby, but the light seemed strange and distant to Nia. She was sitting in a quiet staff break room, wrapped in a thick hospital blanket. Nurse Ayana was sitting next to her, holding a cup of hot tea another nurse had brought them. Neither of them spoke. They had told everything over and over again, to the head of security, to the police detectives. The server room became a crime scene. Dr. Vaughn, as soon as he regained consciousness, was handcuffed to a bed. Shanice was taken away in a squad car before dawn, her hysterical screams echoing in the empty parking lot. And Tariq, the medical team arrived with extreme caution. They put a cervical collar on him, moved him to a spine board, and took him to the ER, then to MRI, and finally to the trauma ICU. The diagnosis came as the sun rose: burst fracture of the C4 vertebra. The spinal cord was severed. He was quadriplegic, completely paralyzed from the neck down. He could breathe on his own, but with difficulty. He could move his eyes and some facial muscles, but that was all. Forever. The following days were a blur for Nia. She stayed at her parents' house, refusing to speak to anyone except her lawyer. The news exploded. The Red Operating Room Scandal at Atlanta General. Photos of Dr. Vaughn, Chanis, and Tarek were on every news portal. Justice was swift and relentless. The video and audio recording from the server room was irrefutable proof. Dr. Vaughn faced the most charges: conspiracy to commit murder, gross medical negligence, insurance fraud, and assault. Ayanna's testimony opened Pandora's box on years of other suspicious cases of surgical complications. He was sentenced to life in prison, stripped of his medical license, and destined to die in ignominy. Chanis, as an accomplice, was also found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder. Her beautiful crying face in court did not move the judge. She received a sentence of 20 years in prison. Ayanna was hailed as a hero. After the hospital completely overhauled its board of directors, they offered her a new position: Chief Supervisor of Ethics and Patient Compliance. She accepted, determined to ensure that no one like Dr. Vaughn could ever operate again. And Naya filed for divorce the same day Tariq was transferred from the ICU. She attached the evidence of the attempted murder and the old audio recording about money laundering. The court granted her the divorce immediately in the absence of the defendant. All assets were frozen. The life insurance policy was declared void. The multi-million-dollar debt Tariq had created remained his responsibility, or rather, the responsibility of the state-appointed trustee to manage his seized assets. Nia was free, financially, legally, and emotionally. 1 month later, Nia decided she needed to close this chapter forever. She paid a visit to Tariq, and it would be the last. He was no longer in a luxury hospital. He was in a long-term care facility, managed by the state for inmates with special medical needs. His room was small and smelled of antiseptic and despair. He lay in a specialized bed with his head immobilized by supports. Only his eyes moved, staring at the ceiling. A nurse was changing his catheter bag when Nia walked in. Tariq's eyes darted sharply toward the door. He saw her. Nia wore a simple light blue dress. She looked calm and healthy. Tariq's eyes narrowed. A pure and impotent hate burned in them. He tried to speak. A gurgling sound came out of his throat. He hated her. He blamed her for everything. Naya walked slowly to his bedside. She stood in silence for a moment, looking at the man she once loved, the man who had betrayed her in the vilest way. She felt no compassion or anger, just the end. "I came to tell you one thing," said Nia softly. Her voice was calm and clear in the silent room. Tariq stared at her with bloodshot eyes. "You wanted to put me on an operating table, right?" continued Nia. "You wanted me to be helpless, depending on machines, so you could start a new life." Tariq wheezed again, louder. "Now," said Nia, leaning in a little closer, "you are the one trapped in a bed. You are the one who depends on others for everything. Forever. Isn't it ironic?" Nia straightened up. "Enjoy the rest of your life, Tariq." She walked down the hall, past the guards, and walked out the main door of the center. Outside, the sun was shining brightly. The morning air was fresh. Nia took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of the sun on her face. For the first time in a long time, she felt free. She walked down the steps and toward her car, toward the rest of her new life. Did you like the story, and which city are you listening from? Let's meet in the comments. If you liked the story, you can support me by sending a super thanks so I can keep bringing more stories like this. Thank you so much for your sweet support. I'm looking forward to your comments on the story. On the screen, you can see 2 new life stories that I highly recommend. There's so much more on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. See you in the next life story with love and respect.